Hi everyone, Meg here from Squarespace Design Guild and Meg Summerfield Creative Studio. We're just going to go through a couple of different small steps today. What is Squarespace Design Guild? And a couple of the questions that you guys have. A lot of you emailed me questions. I'm going to try and sort of pull a couple of those together into one or two little questions. I wanted to give you a little intro about what this is and what you can expect as a member and not a member of the guild and website and membership, and talk a little bit about those things and then answer some of the questions. First thing, there are sort of three pillars to Squarespace Design Guild in terms of what you can expect from the community as a member. The first one of those is going to be your resources and learning, and that is something that I have been looking for, and sort of, through Pinterest, through sharing, through learning all these different items, you can grow your knowledge about the platform to a certain extent. But at some point, if there's no sort of collaboration in terms of sharing, then your learning sort of becomes only what you can learn and not what a community can learn. So I'm going to take things that I've learned, sort of tips and tricks, tutorials, ideas that others have shared with me that they want to be within the community. Hello, viewer. So that first pillar is going to be resources, and every month, whether you're a monthly or annual subscriber, you're going to have about 3 to 5 new resources. Sometimes it'll be one really large one, and it'll be something along the lines of a tutorial that is, how do you say that? Let's say you go into wireframing and you want to talk about wireframing for a client. And so how do you do that in Squarespace? Do you provide them a flat wireframe, or do you do a live wireframe? And then so there's a tutorial along with that, as well as some sort of resource that you can use to build for your clients. So that would be the example of a resource month, where it might just be one resource. Other times it might be an example of how to use the recipe block, or what I call the menu block, which is basically a styled table in 5 different ways. And then, an example and a tutorial of how to use that. So that would be 5 sort of examples. And then there might be, a couple of different tips and tricks on how to use it. And so each month those will be rotated out, so that annual members know that they're getting just as much as monthly subscribers, and that everyone sort of is on the same playing field. And then let's see, there are lots of different sort of so pillar number 2, let's go to pillar number 2. Resources is number 1. We already talked about that. Number 2 is going to be community, and that is going to be mostly for members in a sort of private sense on the Slack community. And if you don't know Slack, it's a sort of chat room of sorts that you can share files. You can sort of create threads for different types of discussion, and also have private conversations with members of the group. So that really allows you to have consistency and a little bit more collaboration than something like a Facebook group. It's going to be a lot more collaboration, a lot more talking one-on-one, which is exactly what our community of designers needs. And then that sort of idea of community goes beyond that. We're sharing through the public blog as well. And that brings us to number 3, which is showcase. There are 2 aspects of the showcase. One is public, meaning that whether you are a member or not, anyone can submit their Squarespace site that they've designed to the site to be showcased. And how that works is you can talk about the design, you can talk about one specific element. It is available for everyone to talk about and to show the world who you are and what you're designing, and have a central location for people to find your work. And then for annual members, there will be a design directory where you can find other designers, or clients can find somebody, or you can find someone to collaborate with. Maybe you're a designer, but you want some custom help. You can find them through the directory, and so that sort of like is your is a little bit of a vendor guide in terms of who's doing Squarespace and what what is their pricing, what are their offerings, how can you get in touch with them, and that's going to be a way of taking our membership and bringing it out to the world, and really showcasing what we're doing. And really validating our profession in the end, and that's really important as designers, that we're not just people going out there and giving people a DIY website. It's well thought out and it's well planned, and let's tell people that. And so those are the three main pillars: number one, resources; number two, community; and number three, showcase. And then beyond that, there's obviously the blog for people to explore in a public way. For those needing a couple of tips and tricks for designers, that will be available for them as well. And there will be sort of other resources available as it grows. So ebooks, workshops, mini webinars, one-on-one courses, things along those lines. And I have a couple of designers sort of set up and ready to go and interested in teaching, and that's really exciting. I can't wait to share those with you. And then, I just wanted to answer a couple of questions that people have before we sort of start the site or start a membership. And the first one of those is what kind of resources. So I already sort of went over that a little bit in the beginning. There will be business resources in terms of specifically geared towards Squarespace. What are you doing for your clients? How are you onboarding? How are you offboarding? How are you, answering questions for your clients? Where do when you have a question that Squarespace isn't answering, what do you do? How do you solve those problems? What questions should you be asking a client when you onboard? And then, 2 months into a really big project, you realize you don't have, the last 4 digits of their credit card number, and you need to get in touch with Squarespace help, and it's on their card, and you realize that you don't have that information. These are questions that you need to have ready for everybody. And then the other types of resources will be design resources. So it's going to be business and design resources. And that will allow everybody to sort of have that, that design aspect where they can elevate their design or their creativity behind it, and as well as their business in terms of how they're working with clients. And then the other question that I wanted to make sure got answered today was what kind of things can I submit, and do I have to be a member to submit to the blog? Absolutely not. You don't have to be a member. Starting on Tuesday as well, everything will go live and for submitting to the blog. And that will be, it's got to be geared towards Squarespace, towards the community, towards teaching the community about Squarespace, or showcasing Squarespace work in a creative and unique way. Yeah, we all do projects that don't have tons of creativity involved in terms of how we're using Squarespace. However, there might be elements where you, are using the new search function for the Instagram feed. How are you using that differently? How are you using it? Tell me about it. Let's show everybody with this creative idea that boosts your business and hopefully brings you new clients. And then the other kind of posts would be, maybe you wrote an awesome MailChimp integration blog post, and your site gets a certain amount of hits, but the blog post is a little older and you want to revamp it. Well, let's get it out there. Let's sort of show it to the world. So again, a little recap. We've been talking about the 3 pillars of the design, and we're going to, of the guild, number 1, resources. whether it's for business or for design. Number 2, which is going to be community, all based on Slack, which is a sort of chat room of sorts that has a bit more functionality than just a plain chat room. You can file share, you can private chat, you can sort of organize your conversations by topic. And then the third one is showcase, where you guys can showcase your work to the world, which is one of the biggest parts of a design guild, is that we come together and showcase each other's work and help validate and sort of excite the world about why they would need to hire a designer for Squarespace. So, and what we can do besides just the, what's the difference between a site that a client designs on their own and what you can do for them, and showcasing it to the world and validating the platform as itself, not just for someone to do by themselves, but for you to get more clients. So those are our main sort of elements, and we answered a couple questions about what type of resources will be available. Again, business and design. They're going to be rotated out on a monthly basis. So the first month you're going to have, double the amount of resources for the first 2 months, because it's the end of March and it's almost April, but that way everybody sort of gets a lot when they first join. The type of resources that are going to be there, I'm going to have an example post on that sort of as soon as possible, and they're going to be two different types of examples I'll show you. So one of those examples is going to be taking something that exists and you don't need to have any code at all, and sort of taking something and switching it up. How do you use something in a creative way and making it really different and possible? So there would be a template and a tutorial and no sort of special things needed. And then the second one would be something that you might have a client facing that you can put your own branding on. Maybe it's an onboarding questionnaire. And then the third thing would be an actual design element that would be like a code trick. So like, how do you put a scroll to top sort of button that's like floating? Especially if you're in a store or a really long blog, those are things that you probably need on your site. So those are examples of different types of things that might be on there. Each month will be theme-based, so it will be encompassing solving one specific problem. And then what kind of blog posts people can submit, anything that teaches towards the community of Squarespace specifically, not design, but Squarespace. So, if that is web design, how to teach web design and how to use elements in a better way, that's fine. And it's not exclusive. So being able to showcase your work to the community means that you can post it on your blog, another blog, and on here. So again, when membership opens on Tuesday, that will also be available for submissions, whether you are a member or not. Obviously, membership people who are members get higher priority, just that's the way it works, but it'll always be available for anyone to join. So if you guys have any questions, you can ask them in the questions bar. If you don't know how to use the little extra question section up there. And then, does anybody have any other things they want to ask, please feel free to email me. It's hello, HELLO, at megsummerfield.com, MEGSUMMERFIELD. And that's on Instagram direct, any of those different things. Please ask any questions. This is a sort of new type of thing that's going to exist. It's sort of encompassing a lot of different styles of community all together in one. And I'm really excited to share it with you guys. Thanks.